Episode of Be Growth Driven, where we are interviewing the entrepreneurs around the world that are inspiring, they're innovating, and they're growing. And what we want to always bring is we want to bring individuals that have been through the trenches, they've done it, and hear their stories and share those stories with you. So I have a very special guest with me today, a good friend, Tom Smyth. And he's a distinguished figure in the realms of business and self-development. He's not only a renowned author and TEDx speaker, but he's also a distinguished 10X business coach as well, who's worked alongside Grant Cardone. And throughout his career, he's coached a stellar roster of clients. This guy, just hearing who he knows and who he's connected and who he's worked with, who he's helped, is just amazing. It's Hollywood A-listers, some of the top business minds across the world. So without further ado, I want to welcome my good friend, Tom Smyth. Tom, thank you for joining us today. How's your day going?
Let's go, brother. Yes, things are amazing. Even when days are challenging, they're still amazing. So,
absolutely. Well, I sure appreciate you joining us today. You know, I kind of introduced you a little bit, but I mean, take a moment, maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who Tom is. Who's Tom Smyth?
Yeah, and just before I start, the privilege is mine. So thank you for the opportunity. My name is Tom Smyth. I am a mentor, a coach. I'm also a husband, a dad. I'm a granddad. I grew up in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I was born in 1974. And growing up in our country was quite different to anywhere else in the world because our country was having a civil war. So both sides of our community were killing each other every single day. It was a cycle of violence, better known as the Troubles. Murder, death, bombs going off, terrorist attacks happened every single day or every week. There was a massacre or somebody dead in your community. And, you know, my mom and dad done an amazing job bringing us up as kids, but we also had no money, Joe. We had zero money.
Yeah.
But one thing we did have in our house was love. And my mom and dad done an amazing job, and I'm very lucky they're still alive. But because we had no money, I decided I wanted to get a job. And at the age of 10 years old, I got a job working in a burger joint. And I was the kid that peeled the potatoes and made the French fries. And I did that job every day after school for 5 years. So at the age of 10 years old, the young entrepreneur was born. And if I look upon it now, I've been working for 40 years. I'm 50 now. You know, I couldn't connect with the school curriculum. It had no meaning to me. I didn't know why they were trying to teach me these things. And my teachers wrote me off. I remember a couple of teachers saying to me, "You're going to be nothing, Smith." Is that right? And growing up, one thing I was good with was my hands. You know, I was pretty good on the street looking after myself, but I was also good as a contractor. And at the young age of 17, I started doing contracting work. By the time I was 18, I had a squad of guys. And I got an amazing opportunity at the age of 18 to earn more money than anybody else. Because you have to remember, we had a war going on. So a guy approached me and says, "Would you like to earn 3 or 4 times more than anybody else who's contracting?" And the other thing is, during a war, work is scarce. There's no, you know, the economy's destroyed. You're in a war. So, you know,
Right.
It might be hard for people to imagine that. So the opportunity came and he says, "We've got a thing for you called danger money. Would you like to earn danger money?" I'm like, "What's danger money?" So he says, "You work for the army and you work for the police, but that means you become a target." And I'm like, "Okay, how much are you going to pay me a day?" So he told me, and I said, "I'm all in." And so we used to work for the army and police. And because we did, we were a target. One of the organizations wanted to kill us. And I remember one time working on a police station roof, and a policeman come running out and says, "Get off the roof." And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he said, "There's a sniper close by. You guys are all about to get shot off the roof." So we get down, and what did we do next? We had our lunch. We seen the army and the police going into the forest. And I asked the lads, "What do you want to do?" And my foreman who worked for me says, "Well, the guy's obviously away. I want a full day's pay. What do you want to do, Tom? And I said, let's get back up. You see, our abnormal life became normal. And growing up in Northern Ireland and Belfast, it also gave me resilience. Resilience is in my DNA. So as a business person, when you've grew up in that, it gives you a massive added advantage.
Right. It gives you, well, I mean, man, you're telling a story. It's like if anybody that's listening says, I had a hard life, you know, I think you've topped a lot of people here real quick.
Well, yeah,
It's like,
here's the thing, Joel. Unfortunately, I just got goose pimples there. You know, when somebody would have said to you, did you hear about Paul Anderson or somebody's name that you went to school with? What happened? He was shot yesterday. What's he like? He's dead. Flip, that's terrible. Do you want a pint of beer or a vodka? You know, because unfortunately, death was so common. Life became trivial that somebody else had died, although it was horrible.
yeah,
It really became normal. It was, and the beautiful thing that happened, but in 1994, both of our communities found peace. And my life and everybody else's life in our country changed forever. The death and the terror stopped. People started screaming from the rooftops with happiness. And our country, for the first time in over 30 years, started to find peace and prosperity.
Do you think those adversities, those challenges, like, you know, obviously your comment there, like, hey, death became something that was just commonplace. It's still sad, but did that jade you, or do you think that was something that was good that you came a little bit more numb to, or do you look
Definitely
back now and say,
Yeah, it
you know,
definitely wasn't good, but it had an effect on you.
yeah,
And it had an effect on me where it definitely made me emotionally tough. And I believe now we live in a world that will have a lot of amazing people, but they're not emotionally tough. And
right,
I could say to you right now, I don't like your blazer. And you'd be like, really? Man, you've hurt my feelings.
we'll take the
But
blazer off.
I do like your blazer, but there's people that if you said something to, you can hurt their emotions. And
Right.
that war, that conflict definitely made me super resilient and tough, especially
Right.
emotionally tough.
I think that's how it's an important thing of how you start to look at challenges, right? You know, you can look at challenges. I always think of it, there's always two ways you can look at things. You can look at things, even the saddest thing, with excitement because of whatever opportunity it may change. You know, I was listening to something last night, it's talking about when we have the bad day. I think it's on average about over 150,000 people die each day. So when you woke up this morning, you weren't one of them. So
Yeah, and,
they would
and just
they would have done
just
anything to trade places with you.
just to relate to that, Joel, and I really get what you said there. Like my best friend Gary died 3 years ago, and
Oh man,
I
I'm sorry.
miss him. I miss
Yeah,
him every single day. And people don't realize it. When my feet touch the ground in the morning, I say thank you because waking up is a blessing.
yeah,
See, if you're going through a day and you have challenges, let's remember that you're alive, that you can go through them challenges. Because somebody right now, unfortunately, has just died. And here's the thing, your challenges make you as well. If you're not overcoming challenges, sure, what's the point?
yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people shy away from challenges, right? Because we're creatures of comfort. I mean, think about it. Like when you come home, some people, the first thing they want to do is they want to go sit in a chair. They want to go, get something that makes them more comfortable in that moment. And so we're creatures of comfort, but the thing that helps us to really become better is the adversity
And
and
I
how
would
we approach it.
agree. I would totally disagree. I like getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. And if I relate to Grant Cardone,
Right.
Grant put a message on LinkedIn about 3 years ago, and it said, what lives on the other side of massive adversity? The life of your wildest dreams. And it was in the middle of COVID, and I just went, let's go. And it really
Right.
sparked me up because anybody that's gone through the storm, keep going because see the other
Right.
side. It's amazing.
Right. And what I meant by that was people seek that comfort the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that just the things they're desiring, the things they want, I mean, your eyes open. It's like I always look at it like with a simple test of, hey, are you doing something unethical, immoral?
Yeah,
No,
that's
no,
it.
okay, do it. And do it
Yeah,
quick. Say yes quick, move quicker,
yeah,
our responsibility, I believe myself, I don't I'd be curious to see how you feel about this. It's like our responsibility is every single day that our feet do touch the ground is who can we impact? Who
100%.
can we positively impact?
How can we make
With
a difference? How can we make a
Yeah,
difference?
and without a selfish gain, because a lot of people will do it with the mindset of a selfish gain for just themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so who can you do something for that
Well,
is gonna make a
put it in
community
perspective.
impact?
A friend of mine messaged me last night who is a triathlete. He's a warrior, and he's just about to run another marathon, but he's doing it bare feet.
Oh,
He's
wow.
doing it. He's doing it in his bare feet, but he's doing it for two children who have a real bad illness to help try and get they're a brother and sister, and they need a special operation. And when he messaged me last night, I instantly donated money to it because I just thought, what have I done today to try and make a difference? And that made me make a difference indirectly in somebody's life who'll never know it was me. But it's our job to help each other. It's our job to help other people.
Right, and, you said something right there as far as, like, we need to make the difference sometimes when nobody knows.
But that's how you should do it.
Yeah.
Because
No,
listen,
100%.
we all have social media, and there's things that should be on it and things that there shouldn't. And I'm going to start going on to social media more to raise money for building wells in Africa. But me going on to social media speaking about it is not about me. It's the thought of building a well in Africa that'll change a small village or a town to help those amazing people. Since I started doing it, I've got involved in 3 builds of 3 wells in the last 6 weeks. And
Oh,
my
wow.
goal is my goal is to do 50 in a year. So anybody that wants to donate, please feel free. But it's our job to help fellow man and fellow woman. It's our job.
Right. And by all means, send us the link there too, so that we'll
Thank
add the
you.
link there. So if people wanna, help with that, that's a great thing because there's a lot of places we take for granted. We can turn on a faucet, there's water
Yeah.
there. We go
People have
home,
to
there's
walk for
heat.
they walk for 3 or 4 hours to get fresh drinking water.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
And
I've
then
had
and
it in
that's their day. That's the majority, a good portion of their day, just getting water, just getting basic food, things like that.
100%.
So, we really have it well in many countries. You're over there, we're here in the United States, it's like we have it better off, but, unfortunately, even in, some of those areas, like people don't, and we need to take time to, I think, to think about that more.
Yeah.
A lot of times people just think about that, a certain time of the year, and it needs to be, something that people think about constantly,
But
you
then
know?
just to touch on it, Joel, there's times that I'm really in the hustle, going after deals and
Yeah,
pushing. Then I can feel the frustration. And sometimes I step back and just go, hold on a minute. How grateful am I for the life that I have, for the wife that I have, for the kids, for my staff, for my granddaughter, for my current situation is the life somebody would dream for. So instantly, I have to take a step back and be grateful for being in the moment and having what I do have instead of
right,
the resentment towards the deal that I haven't got yet. And you have to
right.
have a reality check and do a reset and go, I am living an amazing life. So, and I have to, really check myself sometimes and realize that.
Yeah, no, well, and then I think the reflection time is a critical thing, um, because you do need to make sure you need to take a moment to appreciate what you have accomplished. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
However, at the same time, you got to make sure are you deviating off the main course, right? And there's things along our journey. I've seen this just as you start saying yes to things, and you're on your journey that of a bigger purpose that's for you, right? That, sometimes we can get distracted if we're not careful, and we need to make sure we look down. I always think of it this way. When I fly planes, when you're coming in for the landing, you gotta not look at the numbers where you're landing. You gotta look down the runway, because if you don't look down the runway, you're gonna botch that landing.
Okay.
It's not gonna be good. It could be really bad.
Yeah.
So, we got to have that reflection point. What would you say? What are some key strategies you've developed that have helped you stay on your course, on your entrepreneurial journey, or your journey in life? What are some key strategies? What's some, maybe it's habits, maybe it's those types of things.
Yeah, one of the big things for me is waking up every morning and putting on my armor, including my helmet. And it's a mantra that I write. And, I've got my mantra here. So I prime myself in the morning and write about this amazing individual, but that guy's me. So it starts like this: I am a warrior of Jesus Christ. I am a sober man. I am a sober man. I repeat it twice to remind myself that I'm in recovery. I am a total success and positivity magnet. I am a huge money and vast wealth magnet. I am a total health and fitness magnet. And it goes on and on. I am. One of the ones that I wrote in 2021 on YouTube: I am now in magazines, TV, and movie scenes. I'm here to do it all. And this in the morning reconfirms and reminds me who I am. And I prime myself before my day starts. And if I have a challenging day, I will play this because I have it taped on my phone, and I'll play it in the car. So I'll prime myself before I go for a meeting. It's called my mantra. And I teach it
Love that.
all. I teach it to all my dream mentoring clients. And here's the thing for anybody that wants to know: you don't just write this on day one and you become that person. But after 20 to 30 days writing this, stay committed. If you write this for 20 to 30 days, one day you will wake up and feel a connection with the words. And it's changed my life. I've wrote this for 10 years. My mantra has changed as I have changed, but I normally write the same thing, but sometimes adjust it. But it makes me, one of the things that I write is, I am bulletproof. And I believe in bulletproof.
I think what it does, it helps you find. There was a book I love the statement from, a book called Beyond Positive Thinking, and it says
Nice.
the mind finds whatever it's familiar with. It's like the one statement, it just really resonated with me, and
100%.
it also connects with scriptural thought about making your mind over. Right? So that means that we sometimes got to remove the things that aren't healthy for us, spiritually, mentally, morally, those types of things. We got to remove those things, but we got to, what you're doing there with the mantra, you're replacing those things
I am.
constantly every day. You're rebuilding the blocks. And I love that morning routine, because I think that foundation every single day is so critical for anybody.
Like I have became that man on that page, and it's changed over the last 10 years to the point I know anything that I write about me, I will become. But it also can go down the rabbit hole of negativity and pain,
Yep.
because the biggest thing in life is what you think you become. So priming yourself in the morning, I do not look at my mobile when I wake up. I write my mantra first, and then I'm ready to face any horrible text message, email, or Instagram message, because I'm ready and I'm primed.
Right. I love that. I love that. So
So
that's
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 definitely one strategy. Another one for me would be, if you don't give up, you cannot lose. You need to be in the game all of the time. If you're in it, you're going to win it, but you can't come out of it. If you think of yourself as a UFC fighter, never tap out. You have to stay in it. Because if you stay in it long enough, you will reap the rewards. But too many
right.
people now, Joel, when things start getting a little bit tough, people leave, and they don't realize that they could have been a day, a week, or a month away from actually achieving that goal. But they'll never
It's
know.
right. It's usually like right when you want to give up, it's just on the other side,
Of
you know.
course.
And I remember one other thing that I read somewhere. It was talking about like runners, like when someone, you were talking about a friend earlier running the race, right? It's like that moment your body wants to give up, you've only exhausted about 40% of your energy.
Yeah.
So that means you got all the energy you've consumed, all the effort you've done, and this goes to everything in life because it's all mental. It's all up in the head of your decision space. You got 60% left. You're not even tapped out.
Just to touch on that, I purposely put myself through really challenging cardio sessions. So during COVID, Molly McCann from UFC, I was coaching her. I was her mindset coach for 2 years, but we both decided we wanted to do something for children's charity. So in the middle of COVID, we ran half of Mount Everest on stairs, half of Mount Everest. And then last year, I picked a tower block in London and I got permission. I ran all of Mount Everest on stairs, 11 hours non-stop. Why?
Wow.
Because it's to make me emotionally tough. That's why I do things like that. So if I do get involved in a business deal, when you've got that level of emotional toughness, I'm never going to leave a deal until I've got my yes, because I don't know how to give up.
Right. I think, and that's an important lesson. I think a lot of people can take away from this right here is that decision to give up is nobody else's but yours.
Do you
It
know
is
something? My success.
nobody makes you give up.
And think about me and you were both at Grant Carone's GrowthCon. Remember the statement: success is our duty.
Yep.
Success is our duty, not giving up. Success is my duty to my wife, my kids, my granddaughter, my future grandkids, the legacy that I will leave. I don't know how to give up.
I love that. And I mean, and this is why we of course on BGD, we want to bring on individuals like yourself because this type of mindset, and I appreciate you sharing the foundational story. It's like you could have easily said, hey, with what I've grown up with, I'm going to take it easy. Now that things have calmed down, now that things have, a lot of people did that during COVID, for example. They kind of faded off to the side. But really that resilience, and what that opens up in a life is just remarkable.
I'm going to tell you something very personal that I've never told anybody before on a podcast, or maybe openly ever. I remember at my first stages of recovery, I didn't want to continue with recovery. I didn't want to go to AA anymore. I wanted to give up. I started feeling sorry for myself. Now I'm 10 years in recovery. My wife says to me, the man that I'm married to, if he broke his leg, would snap a bit of wood off and tape it to his leg and keep running. Please remember, Tom, you're a man that never gives up. And she inspired me to stay on the road to recovery. Then staying on that road to recovery has saved my life through AA and Jesus Christ. So it's everything in life. Giving up isn't an option. None of us should give up.
I love that. What would you say is, in the last few years, what would you say has been a major setback, and how'd you overcome it?
So, what an amazing question, and very suited to my business. So COVID came. I own a hotel business, 550 apartments across the UK. We lost £6 million, about $11,000 inside 2 weeks. Our booking chart just stopped. The company, global booking.com, forced hotels to give refunds. So there was a lot of companies that just went bankrupt overnight. We were really lucky that we were sitting very strong financially. What did I do when COVID hit officially? I did nothing for 2 weeks. I didn't react. I didn't respond. I just got my thoughts together and thought, I'm going to fight back. It's my duty to be successful. I've got a wife and kids, and I've got hundreds of staff who I am entitled to make sure I save their jobs. One of the things Boris Johnson did right, our Prime Minister, was he allowed construction to continue. So my sales team started making 5,000 sales calls a week instead of 1,000 sales calls. Most of those calls were to an empty phone because people had been furloughed or were sick. But the
Right.
calls that we started getting construction workers, we started getting all the Amazon expansion, and we started looking after amazing doctors and nurses that were taking their lives and putting it at risk to save all of us. We give some nurses free accommodation that couldn't afford to stay in apartments away from their family. And we took massive action in the middle of a global pandemic. We stopped surviving and started thriving. And then a year into COVID, I did what some people call the unthinkable. I doubled the size of my business, more than doubled. I went from 250 to 550 apartments because I wasn't going to look back 2 years after the global pandemic on everything that I could have done. I just done it. I wrote a book called Fear Less, An Antidote to Self-Doubt. I wrote a mentoring course, which has become a global success. And I didn't miss a beat the whole 2 years of COVID.
Right. It sounds like your calendar was pretty full the whole time.
24/7, because there was times that there was no airlines, so I had to get a boat to Scotland and England to check locations. I had hardly any sleep. I walked the streets of the UK myself to bring in sales because I didn't expect my sales team to travel because there was a global pandemic going. But it was my duty to save my business. I didn't want a furlough. I didn't want to take money from the government. I wanted to save my company. And here's the thing, hard work works. Taking massive action works. And I defeated, well, I call it the plandemic because I don't believe it, but I defeated it.
I love that. Now you mentioned your book, Fearless, right? And you, what are the main components of the formula that you bring out in your book, Fearless? And for everybody listening, we'll put a link down here at the bottom too for that book. So,
anybody listening, I'm going to give everybody a complimentary download of the audio book because it's my job to help somebody else. So I don't want paid for it. It's a gift from me. Well, the book is all about, it's an antidote to self-doubt. It's like a street version of The Secret. I've sold thousands and thousands of copies. It's about me growing up in Belfast and my resilience, but it's also to get into people's heads to let them know if you can control your belief and your thinking, you can overcome anything. There's amazing stories of overcoming adversity. Like I called a friend once and I couldn't get him on the phone. This is a little bit that I touch on in the book. I couldn't get my friend on the phone he's a community leader from one side of the streets in Belfast. And I said to his wife, where is he? She says, I can't tell you. 2 weeks later, he called me. He says to me, come to the house. So I said, where have you been? I've been worried. And he says, I've been in Afghanistan. And I'm like, what? He says, do you know the guy that used to be my enemy? And I'm like, the guy who's now your friend because you're working for peace every day as a community? He says, yeah. Rob. I'm like, okay, tell me more. He says, the United Nations flew us to meet the Taliban in Afghanistan. And I'm like, what? He says, I told him this guy was my arch enemy. We were at war for 30 years. It was our job to get this guy. Then he told a similar story. They both stood up and shook hands and said to the Taliban, our country of Northern Ireland is now the definition of conflict resolution. The Taliban were in shock. And my point in the book is, if these guys can go from being arch enemies, don't hold a grudge on somebody. Don't hold a grudge on somebody in your office. Don't hold a grudge on somebody who's a family member. Get over yourself. If our community can get over a war, you should be able to get over your negative thinking.
I love that. And that's that was one of the things even too brought out at the growth conference, right? I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Someone threw an egg at him and his comment was, you owe me bacon.
Where's the bacon?
So, but it's just really the mindset. And, and if we start perpetuating that as entrepreneurs and we teach that to our kids, our families, our communities, that's how you start to really build connections and get past things because
here's the thing, Joel. Arnie could have been poor me, or he could have been the guy who said, where's the bacon to go with the eggs? He's a genius. But all of us could go to a pity party of some sort.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I tell you what, I've been to one about 10 years ago. They're no fun. I've never been back at one either.
Yeah, no, we all have that choice. It kind of goes back to the mindset. It's the decision of whether you're out, whether there's a pity party. It's like sometimes we have those moments where we reflect, man, why is this happening? But we got to get out of that party real quick because it's not a good place. They suck you in.
Yeah.
So
100%.
how have your business, with this mindset, how you've coached people of diverse backgrounds, right? How have your strategies changed over the years? Like what stayed the same and what have you used to decide what to change?
I always believe if something isn't serving me, it needs to go.
Right.
And that can be somebody in your life who's maybe toxic, that's affecting you. I won't give anybody permission to affect me because I also need to protect my sobriety. No matter how well things ever become and they keep getting better, I believe it's really important to keep your feet planted firmly on the ground and just be the guy that you've always been. I've seen so many people change, and then I meet people like Grant Cardone, a billionaire who's one of the most funniest professional people who is still an amazing normal guy. And I would like to think of myself as a normal guy who just knows the laws of the universe and how to be successful. And I keep applying that. And now I'm on a journey on my dream mentoring program because I know the systems of how it works. I have the luxury to be able to coach amazing people and help change their lives. It's the most rewarding thing.
Right.
It's the most rewarding thing.
I love that. What has been some of the things, if we looked back at the Tom 5 years ago, what would you say would be the biggest differences of the Tom today?
I had a spiritual awakening 2 years ago, and like I'm sitting here now and the Bible's beside me, and my whole outlook on life now is completely different. I want to be hugely successful. I want to have so much money, I don't know what to do with it, because then I can make a change in other people's lives on a huge scale. I've got the Lamborghinis and the gorgeous houses and I fly in the private jets. But see, the thought of being able to go to Africa for a month and make a difference, that's what it's about. And, when I look at things now, in my darkest days when I thought I was alone, I was in God's arms. Me being alive is a miracle. So, I just feel so blessed. I just can't get over the relationship. The relationship I have with God just keeps getting stronger. And I've never felt anything quite like it in my life.
Right. One of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 29:11. That the thoughts of peace. And basically the context there is thoughts of peace and not of calamity. Right. So there's that desire for each and every single one of us. Some people listening may have some different beliefs and those types of things. However, the thought there is really powerful. Just knowing that there's a positive future there for everybody. It's
really listening to Denzel Washington. I would never pray lying in my bed. I always get on my knees and thank God for the day that I've had, and hopefully waking up the next day. And one of the things that I ask God for is, please help me be an inspiration and motivation to 1 billion people. And the more I keep doing this on my socials and stuff, it's going to happen.
Right.
It's about sometimes maybe doing a post or doing something and you don't realize the effect it has on somebody, because that's why I put material out. Even if it affects one person, my job's done.
Why the 1 billion target? A lot of people, because this goes to goals, right? This goes to goals. A lot of people are like,
why 1 million? I can do 1 billion.
Yeah, right. But a lot of people go for, well, Tom, that's unrealistic. They may think, right? So why a 1 billion goal? Why you get what I'm saying? Like that's an important mindset thing. I think that you set the targets that are just, you don't even know how to get there.
Well, I'm very lucky I'm friends with a guy called Joel M. He's a young magician from the UK, but he's massive in the market in America. All the kids and stuff love him, but he also does huge corporate events and things like that. And sometimes I have to set my marker on people who are doing a lot better than me, because that's where it's at.
Right.
And sometimes, depending on what post he has done, he will hit 1 billion people on his socials in a week. 1 billion.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I need to catch up on Joel.
Right.
So if I can catch up on him, I'd be really happy.
Love that. I love that. Now, with all the different things that you're involved in, you got multiple ventures that you're involved in. I see you, you and I have connected socially and through the 10X community over the years here, and starting to get to know each other a lot more with some stuff that we're mutually involved in. How do you keep things? What are your tips to keep things straight when you're dancing across multiple ventures? You're coaching, you're mentoring, you're running a business, you got family, you got grandkids. You like what are your tips that keep the thing straight? I'm not going to say the word balance, but
accountability has to be everything. And one of the things that I do, I close my eyes and see myself in the middle of a field, and I'm in the middle, and around the field is a circle of bonfires. One of them is my marriage. One of them is a relationship with my kids. One of them is a relationship with my granddaughter. One might be 10X, Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson. One could be my hotel business, my mentoring. And I need to make sure that all of those fires are burning equally.
Right.
And if they're not burning equally, the guy who I see, which is me, runs over to the fire and throws petrol on or puts wood on. Now, the petrol or wood is energy. You see, every part of my life can be running equally if I put my time and focus into it. Also, my sobriety needs work all of the time, because I have a disease called alcoholism that tells me that I don't have a disease. And if you are fully committed and obsessed with being happy and successful, you can do it all. You can.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's the mindset. What you're speaking to there is something that was something that resonated for me. Many years ago. Actually, I usually put it right around 2012, 2013. It was like a time period in my life where, man, I was not a good dude.
Yeah.
And I realized it. And I realized, I always equated it to, man, if I died today, what would the gathering be like?
Yeah, I get it.
And I thought about that, and I'm like, that gathering's it would suck.
Yeah.
It would be a small crowd, and and maybe the words said to my family are not what I would want to have said to my family.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like, what is, I always think of it like the legacy I'm going to leave behind. And so now that gives me the energy. And the best way I always sum it up is like, I want to create the cause for the biggest party I'll never make it to.
100. Yeah. I like that.
So
yeah.
Now that it's because I envision this huge, massive party where there's people arriving that none of my family ever knows. And they just heard that it's the last party of Joel. Right.
Yeah.
And they're coming from around the world to to Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Right. Just because of the respect. And so, but to earn that, I got to go do stuff. And it can't stop.
You need to do the right stuff.
Yeah. That's the point. And you need to get out there. You need a network. You need to take the risk, take the chance, and then go at it with such gusto that, it's infectious.
But let's also touch on what you just said. You got to go for it. What I want to maybe share with you too, I come up with an idea in my head 4 years ago that I wanted to be a friend of Grant Cardone, and I wanted to do an event with Grant Cardone. And right. I remember my friend says to me, an American billionaire, how are you going to do this? Plus, COVID had only started like a week. And I says, I can do this. I have a course called Dream Mentoring. I have a system. I know how it works. And when you think about being fully committed and wanting to leave a legacy, 4 years later, my goal was proven to everybody who knows me. It's now real. I'm lucky enough to be able to meet Mr. Cardone. He knows me at first name terms, and he delivered a most amazing speech at our event in Poland, Warsaw, Show Me the Money. And when he come on the stage, he says, hello, my friend Tom. And I'm like, what? You know, if you stay fully committed, we will be leaving legacies for people. And people will remember us when we do pass on how amazing was Joel or how amazing was Tom. But let's go back to what we said 10 minutes ago. It's our duty to be successful.
Yep. Yeah. And I always think of it too, you know, a lot of times we want people around us to support us because we have this vision of our journey. And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of people can make, because the full picture of that journey, we're the only ones that may be able to really honestly see that. And that's okay.
100%.
Right. Because a lot of people will spend so much time trying to convince everybody else of why they're going to do it. Just go do it and get busy. So I love that, man. What would you, if you were to encapsulate, what does being growth driven mean to you?
I am ready to run through a wall right now. I want to continue. You know, if you're not growing, Joel, you're dying. And you know the bit that I want to say to everybody? God and the mighty universe, whatever people want to call it, you're supposed to live a life of total abundance. You're supposed to be completely in love, super happy. You're supposed to be wealthy. If you've been told otherwise growing up by a conversation from our amazing parents, like money grows on trees, or what do you think I am, Rockefeller? Change that script and break that mold. You know, I just see it that we're all supposed to have it. We're supposed to have the amazing life. And for me, growth is about, I have to keep going, Joel. Am I grateful for what I have? Absolutely. Am I content? No.
Right. Would you say that there's an importance, though, at the same time, like you can't, because we were all raised with some sort of limiting belief, some sort of limiting situation. And a lot of people resort to getting angry at that. Right.
I don't, because if it's all here's something that I heard in AA. If I knew better, I would have done better.
Right.
If our amazing parents would have knew a different story about money and wealth, we would have knew a different story. But that doesn't mean we need to hang on to what we've been taught through limiting self-beliefs.
Yeah.
Change your self-belief so there's no L connected to it. There's no limit.
Right. I always think you got to love them. All the intention was love, right?
Of course.
And so, and the rejection of maybe what we were raised with doesn't remove that love. We're adjusting the story that's going to happen next for our children, for our grandchildren.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Absolutely.
We had no money in our house, but we definitely had lots of love. And I remember my parents and I, and my little brother Stephen, my sister wasn't born. We were going into a safari park, and we'd pulled up at the gate, and me and my brother were lying in the footholds of the two seats behind us with a tartan red rug around us. And my mum says, don't move, because we couldn't afford to pay 4 of us into the safari park. So my mum and dad pulled up, the guy looked in, paid for 2 people, and drove in. And the thing is, my mum and dad might have continued to think of lack because they didn't know any better. But hell, man, they give us the most amazing life. And when we get through those gates, me and my brother jumped up and we're all, yes, we've done it. Like it was a great train robbery. And all we've done was get into a safari park because we couldn't afford to pay for 4 people.
Right.
You know, but if we didn't have it, we didn't spend it. But then now I love spending. I love saving. I love investing. I love giving money to charity. I changed my thinking towards money, and all of us can. In my mantra, I say, I am a huge money and vast wealth magnet. I also say, I love money and money loves me. Money comes to me so easily because money isn't the root of all evil. Money can fix a lot of things or help a lot of people.
Right. It's as the good scriptures say, it's how you look at it.
Of course.
It's how it's if you turn it into a god, right? So we don't want to do that. But it's the correct application of the tool. It's no different than, using this tool versus another tool or whatever the case may be. You got to realize what place it's at and hold it in that right place.
Man, I love the way you know the Bible. It's amazing.
I've done a lot of study, That'll be
Yeah,
another conversation, my friend. But no,
see
I
that.
love it. So now, last kind of final question, kind of connected to, the question on growth driven. What does being growth driven mean to you in the way of your philosophy with dream mentoring, your businesses, all of those things?
I have to revert back to Grant Cardone. I want to do 10 times more, 100 times more, 1,000 times more. Through my mentoring business, I want to serve 10 times more people, 100 times more people, 1,000 times more people. What does that look like to me for growth? Being the number one mentor in all of the UK, all of Ireland,
Right.
breaking into America and helping all those amazing American people who might feel, I can't do this anymore. Well, let me be your mentor. Let me help you. I want to continue to be a property developer. I'm involved in one of the biggest global dental deals that will change the face of the dental world. How does a business deal like that come? Growth, drive, and working for 40 years presents that to me. I'm still building apartments and houses. I'll write another book. Growth for me is I acted in a movie last year. I've been picked for 3 movies this year.
Wow.
Well, Joel, I don't know how to stop. I want to be a global public speaker, a global author, a global actor, a global mentor.
I
Let's
think
go.
I think that's the key right there. You got to learn how not to stop.
I don't know how to stop, man. I just
I love
don't
it.
know how to do it. I don't know how
Right.
to.
Well, and for this is why you and I are having this discussion, because there's a lot of people that's all they know how to do. That's all they know how to do is to stop. And I
And can
think,
I really touch on that? I
yeah,
can't understand that mentality. And that's why I love coaching amazing people on
yeah,
my mentoring course to show people it's okay to be driven. It's okay to keep going. It's okay to want more. So for anybody listening, please do me a favor. Don't give up. Keep going. Let's go.
love that. Love that. Tom, what's the best way that people can find you?
Thank you for asking. I am Tom Smyth, the entrepreneur, and it's SMYTH. Tom Smyth, the entrepreneur, on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok. You'll also probably get a link to my mentoring course and a free copy of my book, because Joel is a
Love it.
legend. And I just feel
Appreciate you.
truly blessed that I've been on here today.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Well, yeah, we'll make sure all those links are right here. So if you're looking for those links, don't worry about writing them down. Just look in the descriptions. We got you covered. And Tom, man, I appreciate you. I look forward to the things we're working mutually on, and staying
Yep.
connected and staying working together. So again, thank you for sharing your story. You've shared so much there that truly is inspiring. It really shows the innovation that you've displayed throughout your whole path up to now. And I know you're just getting started.
I am. And I want to share my saying with everybody. I always say to people, winners win, because that's it. What's the other alternative?
Right.
Losers lose. It's winners win, guys. Let's go.
Love it. Thanks again. Everyone, thank you for jumping in on another episode of Be Growth Driven. And until next time, be great, because nothing else pays.